My best friend and partner for around 3 years cheated on me, again. Sorry for the long rant story. I'm hurting very terribly as some of this just happened a couple days ago. I want to give a little background on our relationship. We were open during both of these events, but as long as we talked to each other about it, it was okay to go on dates with other people as long as we met each other's needs. Not a single time through our relationship did she choose to take advantage of the open relationship by telling me about her feelings. She chose to do it behind my back instead, as well as I never found someone I wanted to sleep with or spend time with aside from her romantically, so I never even really thought about pursuing someone else. The first time it happened, we were on a road trip and I drove her about 12 hours to see her friend. We drank a bit and he followed her into the bathroom. We were at his place and so I thought he was just going into his room, otherwise I would not have let that happen, but anyways, they kissed. I was pissed, but I was willing to work on the relationship and let a kiss be just that. We lived more than a 12-hour drive away. She deleted his number, blocked it, and cried and apologized to me profusely. I was able to gain trust back in her for a long while. That was about a year and a half ago. We went on a longer road trip and camped for the most part. We had our ups and downs. We were in a crossover with a pop-up tent, not a lot of room for space. Near the end of the trip she wanted to break it off, but we talked it out and she ended up crying and apologizing again for wanting to leave, and she clung to me for the next few months after our trip. A few months later we both felt very happy in the relationship, in my opinion. The road trip ruined my car, so we were sharing her car since we trashed mine. She was having hormonal issues and went to a gynecologist and had a hormone panel done and found out she has some sort of major hormonal disorder potentially caused by her stopping taking birth control. We worked through some stuff and learned how to communicate better when she was feeling down, and she was continuously showing interest in me, calling me to hang out, and coming to visit me, at least 5 days a week. Sometimes I even stayed at her parents' place. She eventually decided to ask me if I wanted to move in together somewhere. Without giving away the location, we moved to my favorite place. It was my favorite before and after our long trip, and she loved it too. We moved here about 4 months ago. She had started hanging out and talking with this guy from her second job a little too much. Her first job she worked with me, and since we have been sharing a car, one day she forgot to pick me up and ditched class for him. She goes to school online since we moved. I didn't get mad at her. She told me his name and that they were just friends. I dropped it. I fully 100% trusted her. But I told her I wanted to meet her friends if she was going to spend so much time with them. I never got to meet him except for in the following ways. A few weeks later I went on a hike with the car and she was going to walk home. Well, she forgot her keys and I had locked all the windows at the time because we were having some issues with the homeless population in our area. Before she left for work I made sure to ask her if she had my keys so she could get in the apartment. Well, my hike took way longer than I thought, and when I came down I got a text from her saying she was locked out and upset. She had been out there for 7 or 8 hours by the time I finished. She said she went to go smoke up at one of our favorite overlooks within walking distance from the apartment. I called her to make sure she was okay and she said she was hanging out with a friend. When I told her I loved her on the phone and said I'd see her soon, she said okay and hung up the phone. I absolutely fucking knew something was up, so I drove down from my hike and I drove to the overlook. I caught them there hugging and kissing each other. I regret some of the following things I did. I started yelling at her, didn't say a thing to him. A few minutes later we got in the car and we drove off. I drove a little erratically and I scared her a bit, not on purpose, I was just upset. But because of that and she wasn't talking to me, I kept driving until she started talking to me. She told me she wasn't happy and I had been previously asking her almost every day how she was doing and if there was anything I needed to work on or anything I could do to make her happy. We're stuck in this lease for another 8-9 months at this point, and I told her if she was unhappy and she wanted to leave that this wasn't the way to do it. She said she would work on it for a month and go talk to a therapist about what she actually needs and wants. I said I'd do the same so I could work on myself and potentially gain her trust back. We drove back home safe and sound. A couple of weeks go by of us working together. I actually thought we were doing really well compared to previously. I was happy before she cheated on me, but we had quite a bit more sex and she planned more cute fun dates for us. She was telling me she loved me in the morning more, and we were solving our problems more healthily. I decided, however, that us working it out until the end of the month wasn't working for me. It was like walking on eggshells sometimes. I told her that if she was planning on leaving at the end of the month still, that she should leave. That way she was being honest with me, and I told her that it was putting a lot of pressure on me, and that our relationship has been long enough that I think it's worth way more than a month of trying, and that therapy would take longer than the rest of the month. She said she didn't want to leave and that we would remove the end of the month timeline on our relationship. She never went to therapy, however. It got quite a bit better right after that. Her parents visited us from quite a distance away, and they were talking about coming up for next Thanksgiving and visiting us, and we could stay in a condo. They were making future plans with us being together. That was last week. We went on quite a few really nice dates after they left, some hot springs, to a pumpkin patch, and she took me out for sushi. On the way to one of the dates, I noticed her deleting some text messages and texting a number I didn't recognize. I asked her about it. She said that she was looking for a trailer to put on the back of her car so we could go finish the rest of our road trip we didn't get to finish, since we no longer had the pop-up tent. I checked the trailer post online and the number matched up. She told me sorry that it looked shady. She just didn't want to tell me until she figured out she wanted to buy it. She wanted it to be a surprise and told me she would tell me next time because she didn't want me to think she was being shady. I felt way closer to her. She was trying to do something for us in our future. I was ecstatic. While we were at sushi a different day, we were talking about how we could get better for each other. We talked about future plans and had a wonderful night. She took me to work the next morning. We talked about growing trust and what would be a good way for me to work on trusting her more, and she said she'd think about it and that she loved me and she would see me after work. Well, I got to come home early because something happened at work, so they didn't need me the rest of the day. She didn't text me back or answer the phone when I called to pick me up, so I walked home. I showed up and she was at the apartment with the guy she cheated on me with, loading up a U-Haul with all of her stuff. I didn't fight, argue, I just wanted to talk to her. I didn't try to get her to stay. I couldn't even talk to her. The guy was like a bodyguard, thinking I'd hurt her, and I'd never do that. He got in the way of every conversation I could have had to get closure. She left me a note and told me goodbye and drove away. This happened 2 days ago. I don't even have a choice about whether or not I want to work on the relationship anymore. I love her so much and I hope that she does something wonderful with her life. I feel so betrayed. I can't believe she's gone. It's like being in a terrible dream I can't wake up from, and each day I expect her to still be here. Anyone who took the time to read this whole thing, I really appreciate your time. I hope you're doing well on your journey to being happy with whatever you choose to do. Edit. Some individuals have commented on the fact that it was an open relationship.
My wife, 27 female, said she cheated on me, 31 male, because she was never attracted to Asian men. We are both Asian and have a 4-year-old son together. I am 31 and my wife is 27. We married when she was 22 and I was 26. Friday, outside of work, I was confronted by a man, 49, I kind of knew of but didn't know. He asked if I knew who he was and then started saying how powerful he was in his industry and how he rarely loses, and sure as hell wasn't going to go without a fight. As I was getting my bearings, he drops the bombshell that he's been sleeping with my wife and that he's not going to let her go. And she loves him too. I try to keep my composure as I drive home. For the first time in my marriage, I did a deep dive into her iCloud. In it, I found a bunch of infuriating and disgusting text messages, such as him comparing his dick size to mine and saying that he's surprised an Asian man could have taken her virginity. Then other texts about how she could not resist white men. There were texts from him jealous that she had hooked up twice with this other guy. This other guy was also white. I knew that because he's the face of a local boutique hotel his parents own and the family's pretty well known. The earliest text message that showed infidelity was a ruse conversation with someone she met at a party who asked if he should book a hotel room. He sent over selfies and he was this actor type. The worst part is her thanking him for really expensive gifts, and I realize she probably has a secret bank account somewhere. I go and pick up my son and send him to his grandma's. My wife comes home and I confront her. She starts crying and saying that I'm the only man she's ever loved, that I was the father of her kid, and that she had built a home with me, and that she doesn't regret marrying me. It was the happiest day of her life. I said that these text messages are absolutely disgusting and are tearing me apart. She first tried to say that he initiated most of those conversations, and the context of the messages was skewed. I asked what the heck that even meant. She paused for a long moment and said that he made her feel desired. That a lot of these guys loved all her features and would say they were so obsessed with her that they literally love any woman that looks remotely like her, and that they continued to influence various promotions and helped her network and increase her earnings astronomically. Then she broke down and admitted that she was never physically attracted to Asian men, and that she was never attracted to me. And throughout the marriage, she became even less attracted to me, and that the only people she felt sexually excited about have been white, and that was the main reason she cheated, and feels it hard to resist white men. But then she said that we work better together as a team, and we have a son to raise. She said I would be ruining his life if I put him through an ugly divorce and I would only see him part of the time. What do I do? She said she can't help what she is attracted to. We usually have sex at least once a week and I'm satisfied with regular sex and thought she was too. But it burns me that it was probably duty sex all along. Another problem is that her affair partner, she confesses, says he wants to have a kid with her, and be a family with her, that he'd give her a better life and that he wasn't going to let her go, and that he was persisting and always was with her on business trips. She confessed that she did feel some kind of passion with him that's addicting and sometimes imagines the what-ifs. Our families know each other and our friend circle is also very much established. I'm totally unprepared for the humiliation of roller coaster of emotions ahead.